Hey everybody, it's Brian Haskins. I'm going to welcome you to 2025. And in the new year, there's some things that we are doing a little bit different to find wholesale deals. Now, I wanted to make this video. It's a little off the cuff. There's no prepared presentation or anything like that. It's just a really simple outline. But what I wanted to do is show you exactly what my plan is for 2025 and how I'm going to turn that into a multi-seven-figure wholesaling business, and exactly what my thought process is, the systems that I'm going to use to kind of get me there, the marketing strategies I'm going to do, and how the business is going to be set up. Now, this is something that you can model no matter if you're brand new to the business or if you have been in the business for a while. It's going to kind of train you to think a little bit different and understand why I'm making the decisions that I'm doing and what's different for 2025. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through, I'm going to share my screen here with this outline that I've got set up. I'm going to go back and forth in between PropStream, which is a tool that I utilize in my business, and then also my training platform that I use where I work with students to help them build their business as well. So if you like what I'm teaching and you want to find out more about working with me, I do have a couple of spots open right now to work one-on-one to help me build and launch your wholesaling business. You can either set up a call with me or you can shoot me a message on Facebook, something like that. But again, all I'm going to do right now is share with you my thought process on what I'm going to do for 2025 to build a seven-figure wholesaling business. Now, I have been doing this for a little over 20 years now, so things are a little bit different. I have been making over seven figures in my business for at least the last 18 years. So this is kind of my thought process and what I do every single year when I'm kind of planning the business out and what I'm going to do a little bit different. So just very quickly, kind of the outline. So today we're going to talk about understanding your market. And this is the key that everybody skips. So many people go right into, how do I find motivated sellers? How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, in reality, you're never going to be successful generating consistent leads and marketing if you don't understand your market first. This is the number one mistake that most wholesalers make. They think they have a marketing problem, but in reality, they haven't set themselves up to be good at marketing, and that's why they're challenged to find good leads. So if you are struggling to generate consistent motivated sellers, this is going to be a very important video for you to watch. Second thing we're going to talk about is identifying the right buyers. So us as wholesalers, our success and the profit that we make is tied to the buyers that we choose to sell to. Most people are very willy-nilly when it comes to buyers. We want to be very consistent and conscious with the types of buyers that we sell to, because choosing the right buyers is going to allow us to be able to get more offers accepted if we don't have to lowball sellers, also make bigger profits on deals, and just overall build a stronger business. And I'm going to share with you exactly how I do that. And then I'm going to kind of reverse engineer the process once I've identified who the buyers are, show you what they're buying, and how to know exactly what to look for, using that to then go and find what I call pre-sold property. So I'm going to walk you through the entire process, and then I'm going to show you how to choose the right marketing strategies for you. Again, this is the other problem that most people mistake. So if you are the biggest mistake that a lot of new wholesalers are making is that they're trying to mimic what I'm doing in my marketing or what somebody else is telling them, or watching some YouTube video or listening to some podcast where someone says this is the best marketing strategy for you. That's not going to be the case, because again, there's so many factors that go into whether or not you're going to be successful with marketing. We have to choose the right strategies that are going to work for you. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to make win-win offers, how to get more offers accepted, how to secure bigger profits, and go from there. So let me switch over to my PropStream account and talk a little bit about how to understand your market. So for those of you that are worried about data, whether PropStream or PropWire or Privy or any of these other companies out there, look, it's fine. Whatever you're going to use, the data is going to be a little bit different. PropStream is going to be the industry leader. They've been around the longest. People say that PropStream has outdated information. That is absolutely completely inaccurate. I've verified it over so many different forms of data. But again, you can use any tool that you want. If PropStream's not in your budget, it's totally fine. But you're going to be able to utilize the same principles that we're going to talk about today. So when it comes to market demand and understanding our market, what we want to look for is we want to identify where in our market we should be investing, what kinds of properties we should be going after, and what our market demand is. So when it comes to picking a market, look, every single market is going to be a market that you can wholesale in. Is there going to be some things that are more important than others? So when I look at picking a market, what we want to kind of look for is that, number one, if your market is competitive, that doesn't matter, okay? That's only an issue if you're a bad wholesaler and you learn how to do the business the wrong way. Competitive markets are absolutely fine, because I'll share with you how to find deals that nobody else is going after. The only reason that makes your market bad is if there are no wholesale buyers in your market. That's the only reason why. So what we look at is that typically in a market, we want to try to find one that is going to have enough buyer activity. So what I look at is we need to have at least 100 buyer transactions, investor buyer transactions in the last 6 months. The sweet spot is somewhere between 200 and 400 transactions. What we want to look at too is that we want to cap our market out. So let's say, anything above 500,000 or so as your average price point, then there's going to be a little bit less deal. So we want to kind of find that sweet spot as well. We want to try to find where there's a pretty good market that has a good population, a couple 100,000 people. We've got a good bit of what we call investor transactions, and then our market price point isn't going to be super high. So we can pick any market. This is Arizona. We can do anything. Florida doesn't really matter. We could do pretty much anything. I'll just show you kind of Maricopa County, Arizona. So what we're looking at here is we want to identify our market demand. So to identify our market demand, we're going to do this the same exact way that we would build a buyer's list. So to do that, what we want to look at is we're going to click where it says filters. And for buyers, what we want to look at is we're going to stick with residential properties. All right, we're going to do single family properties, and we're also going to do small multifamily. So multifamily 2 to 4 and then duplex. And that's going to be really important for us. Now, the next thing we want to look at is we want to do building square feet. We can do 500, let's just say 2,500 or even 3,000 is fine. Lot size, what we're looking for is we want to go basically up to an acre. So anything up to an acre. And year built, we want to do anything before, like, let's just say 2012. So that's going to give us basically a little bit older properties. That way we can kind of see what's going on here. Next thing we want to look at is we want to find properties that are not listed on the MLS. That's really important for us. Scroll down a little bit. Let's take a look and see what we have here. Owner information. So when I deal directly with investor buyers, I want properties obviously that are not owner occupied. So that means that they don't live in the property. So they own it, but they don't live in it. Okay, that's going to tell us it's an investor owned property. And for buyers, we want to deal directly with buyers that are buying properties as a corporation. So what does that mean? These are people that are buying properties as a company, not mom and pop investors. And you'll see why here in a little bit. But we want to identify the best buyers in our market. That's really, really, really important for us. Next thing we want to look at is going to be, let's scroll down here a little bit. So we have 77,000. Obviously, Maricopa County, that's a huge county, number one. Number two, there's a lot of investor transactions. So we're going to narrow this down a good little bit. One of the things that we want to kind of look at as well is we're going to go up to value on this one. So estimated value, let's just say up to like 500,000. So anything less than 500,000 is going to be kind of what we're looking for. So that's going to eliminate a good chunk of that. So now we know that these are people that own the home and these are people that don't live in the home. We know that it's residential, single family, multifamily, building size, lot size, year built. So all that information is important. So how do we narrow this list down and find buyers? Obviously, we don't need 56,000 buyers. So the easiest way to do that is we're going to come up here and we are going to find our last sale date information. So last sale date. So what we want to look for to verify that we're in a good market is we want to look for basically that sweet spot of 200 to 400 properties. Now, if we have at least 100 properties that have sold within the last 6 months, then you're in a good market. Now, if you're not in a good market, maybe you just move to the next county next to you, or maybe you just include a couple of counties. There's no need to go virtual. But if we just go back, so let's just say for this example, obviously we're going to be looking at a market that's very, 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 there's a ton of sales in here. So we could probably just go back 1 month. Let's just go December 1st until now. So we went from 56,000 properties down to 151. So that tells us right now that this is a great market. Obviously, we already knew that's a good market. So we're going to go ahead and click on View Properties. So what we've done, we verified our market. Number two, we've already decided, okay, we've got a good size list of buyers here. So if we select this, we're going to add it to a list. We're going to call this, create a new list. We're going to call it Maricopa County Buyers. And then we'll just do, I think I did 12, 1, 24 through 1, 2, 20, 25. Sorry about that. Click Save. So what that does for us is now we have a list of buyers. So let me switch back over here and talk about now identifying the right buyers. So many people make this huge mistake that they try to go on Facebook for buyers. They try to go on Craigslist for buyers. And look, you're going to find people that are going to tell you you're buyers, but most of those people are going to be other wholesalers. They're going to be realtors. They're going to be people that are trying to make $1,000, $2,000 off of your deals. Very unlikely are you going to find those types of people at a local RIA or your Facebook group or Craigslist that are actual real buyers. So what we want to look for is, number one, let's verify real buyers based on people that actually bought properties, which is what I just did for you. I just showed you how to find people that are actually buying properties, okay? So the next thing we want to look at is, how do we find who the real buyers are? So it's really simple. We're going to now come over here to my properties, and we're going to open this up here. So let me just, Maricopa County buyers, and let me export this list so that way we can take a look at it. So I'm just going to highlight that. I'm going to click on export. Now, when I open this, what we want to look for when it comes to buyers is really simple. So right here, we want to come where it says owner last name. So since we did all corporations, what we want to do here is we want to basically look at these buyers. Now, anybody that's buying multiple properties during a short time frame is what we're looking for. Number two, the second thing we're looking for are people that are paying the most for properties in the area. So we can see right here, these are the buyers in our area. Let's eliminate anyone that's just a single buyer. So if we come through here and we just eliminate anybody that's not a duplicate buyer, we just delete them because we're not really that interested. Now, obviously, we just did a 1 month time frame, so it's a little bit different because of the market that we're in size-wise. But you want to focus just on people that are buying multiple properties in a short time frame. So obviously, if we come through here, you can do this on your own. I don't want to go through the whole process of doing that because it would take me forever. But we can see right here off the bat, these are our duplicate buyers. So this is what we're looking for. We want to have a list of people that are just duplicate buyers. So that's step one, if they're the right buyer for us. Now, the next thing we want to look at, and again, this is just a spreadsheet based of all the information that we exported from PropStream. One of the things that we want to look at is right here. Let me remove these two things. So we have what we call last sale amount, and then we have estimated value. So these things right here, this tells us what they paid for the property, and this is what the value is. So when we identify people that are paying at or above retail for properties, these are the types of buyers that we want to work with because we know that they're buying properties consistently. We know that they're consistently paying more for properties. What does that do for us? Number one, if we find buyers that are paying the most for properties, we're going to be able to get more offers accepted because we don't have to make lowball offers to sellers. We can be a lot more strategic in the offers that we make. Number two, we can sell it to our buyers for more money to make bigger profits. So when we identify the buyers that are paying at or above retail, that makes a huge difference for us. So what we're looking at right now is that identify the right buyers. So the right buyers are really simple. People that are basically duplicate buyers, buyers paying the most. So what that does for us right there is it gives us a list of people, 3, 5, 10 buyers in our market that we want to work with. Because once we know that these are the types of buyers that we want, we're going to be able to identify and reverse engineer basically what are they buying, what are they paying, and how do we utilize that to build a stronger business. So many of you that are watching this video are just kind of shooting in the wind when it comes to the business. You have no idea if you're targeting the right part of your market. You have no idea if you're targeting the right buyers. So what we want to do now is reverse engineer what we find inside of this document right here to let us know what kinds of properties do we look for. So would it be easier for us to be able to do more deals, spend less on money, spend less money on marketing, and close more deals if we knew what types of things our market demanded? So if we knew where they were buying, what they were buying, and what they were paying, would that make this business easier for you? All right. So that's what we're going to look for right now. So reverse engineer. So where are they buying? What are they? So when we know these things, everything becomes more clear. It is so hard to build a business if you don't understand your market, if you don't have the right buyers, and if you don't know what your market demand is. So this is what I'm going to share with you how to do it right now. So obviously you can go through this spreadsheet and you can look at lots of information. So what we want to look at is where are they buying? So what neighborhoods are they buying in? What zip codes are they buying in? Obviously, you can do a lot of this information. You can do a lot of this kind of on your own, just going through this. I'll show you a really simple way that I use with my students. Another thing we look at is price point. What price point are they buying in? What date range of properties? When are the year built of the properties? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? What's the square footage? All that information is really important. So you could go through here and parse this information out because we've exported all this information from PropStream. I've got a tool that I developed with my students. So this is my coaching portal. This is part of what we use when I'm helping my students out. There's a lot that goes into this coaching portal. Right now, I'm kind of walking you through a little bit of the foundation here. So obviously picking your market, I've got so much information in here about identifying your market, knowing if you're in a good market or not. So much information when it comes to buyers. But this tool right here is a tool that I developed. I call it my Perfect Property Avatar. And what this does, our Perfect Property Finder, this essentially allows you to upload the information, that spreadsheet, and this is only for my students, but this allows you to upload that information from our buyers and find that information without putting all the work in. So we can come in here, analyze our zip code. We can put in here our owner last name. We can put in here our building square feet. We could put in here our year built. And then our last sale amount information. This is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us, okay? So again, we want to understand our market demand. So we know right here, these are the zip codes where the most amount of investor buyers are buying. So the top zip codes. We can also see here, these are the buyers that bought the most amount of properties during that short time frame. We can also see that they're buying properties that are a little bit larger square footage wise, all right? We can also see that the sweet spot for them is going to be properties that are built between 1951 and 1990. And then we can also see our average amount that they paid in the square footage. So using tools like this takes us from going through this entire spreadsheet, parsing all this information on our own, to having basically our instant market demand. So we can utilize now and narrow this information down to basically say, okay, this is where they want to buy properties. These are the types of properties that they're buying. Let's now utilize that to target, be more strategic in what we're looking for. So that's why we want to kind of reverse engineer. So what I'm doing is helping you stack the business in your favor. So as a traditional wholesaler, so many people are going out and they're just picking an area, they're throwing a bunch of marketing out there, going after, casting a big wide net, going after the whole market. Using this strategy, what we're doing is we're using what's actually going on in your market to help you be a stronger wholesaler. So to help you really understand and dial in, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I marketing in this area? Why am I marketing for these properties? Why am I using this marketing strategy? Why am I making this offer? When we start to think about the business this way, this makes everything so much easier because you, as a brand new investor, now have the confidence to know why you're doing the things that you're doing and have a strategic plan. So that way you're not just throwing a bunch of stuff out there, seeing what happens. So when we reverse engineer what these buyers are looking for, we can now go in here and say, okay, these are the types of properties that our buyers want. So we call these pre-sold properties, all right? So if we can be more strategic in what we're looking for, that's exactly what we want to kind of do. So let's go back into PropStream and take a look again. So if I clear all these filters out and we go back in and say, okay, let's utilize some of that buyer criteria to now narrow down and find our pre-sold properties. So I'll show you a really simple example of what pre-sold properties are. This is without even using a ton of our buyer criteria. So we can see right here that we've got 1,753,000 properties. So remember that number, okay, 1,753,000 properties. So when we come in here and start to filter things down, without even looking at motivation, without even doing a lot of this stuff, we want to narrow that list down as small as possible. So we started out with 1,750,000. So we have residential properties. We're going to do single family properties. We're going to do multifamily and duplex properties. We're not even going to dial in really what our buyers want, but we're going to just kind of use some of that information that we looked at. So we're going to do a minimum of 500 square feet to, we'll just do 3,000 square feet. You're built up to 2012. And if we scroll through here, and again, we're not even really narrowing it down yet, we're going to see just how small we can get this list. Because again, this is our pre-sold property information. So on market, no. Scroll down here a little bit. Yes, we want owner occupied since we're doing this. We can even say we want people that have lived in the property for a minimum of 3 years. Now we're dealing with properties, whenever we're going to market to them, we want individual properties owners. So people that own the property as an individual. Let's see here. There's ownership. We can scroll down here. What else do we want inside here? Estimated value. We're going to cap that at 500,000, which is what we did earlier. We also want estimated equity. So let's just say people that have a minimum 30% estimated equity. And let's see if there's anything else that we want inside there. That should get us most of what we're looking for. Without even adding any motivation or anything like that, what we've done is we went from 1,750,000 properties down to a list of 263. And I may have missed a couple of filters, but this is before we even added any of our information from our buyers. So what we've done is we've reverse engineered a chunk of what's going on in our market to be a lot more strategic. So let me ask you this. Would your marketing be more effective if you started out marketing to that entire list of 1,700,000 properties? Like, let's say, for example, you came in and just said, oh, I want all the vacant properties in that area. That's going to be a huge number. But now if we were to say, okay, I've removed a bunch of that information, and we still can narrow it down based on more of what our buyer information looks like. But now we're starting with a list of 263,000. That's like a fraction of what we started out with. So can you imagine how much more effective your marketing is when we utilize what's going on in our market to narrow our list down before we come in and just pick a market? So this is what so many people are struggling with. If you're out driving for dollars, if you're out just building these generic lists and marketing to these people, you are going to struggle in a major way in 2025. Our goal is every step that we use when we build this business together. So every step that we're taking through here is going to make our next step more successful. So we started out by understanding our market. Then we narrowed down and identified the right buyers. Now we use that market demand from our buyers to reverse engineer that process and identify our pre-sold properties. So now we're going to narrow it down even more based on what our buyer criteria is looking for. So again, every step that we're taking is making the business easier for us. It's making us more successful. And that's really what we want to kind of look for. We have to do this type of stuff if you want to be successful and build a business. Okay. So that's really key for us. So without even really using any of our buyer criteria, we've already narrowed it down to 263,000 properties. So now if we come in here, we have two options now. Now we can come in here and add different motivation levels, or we can come in here and we can narrow it down even more based on our buyer criteria. So certain beds and bathrooms, certain, all these different things that we can utilize based on what our buyer criteria told us, we can narrow things down. So, for example, just to give you a quick example, so there were 23,469 vacant properties. Okay, so if you came in here and just said, I'm going to build a list of vacant properties in Maricopa County, and I'm just going to cold call them. So you would have started out with 23,000 if we had narrowed any of this information down. Now, if we click this, based on this criteria that we started to narrow down, we went from 23,000 down to a list of 1,900. So basically, 21,000 of those people that you would have marketed to and cold called would not have even been a property that we wanted. This is the power of understanding your market. So I call this market-driven wholesaling, okay? So what we want to look at is every step that we're taking makes it easier for us for the next step. So now we're a lot more strategic, and we haven't even started to narrow this list down. We're going to make it even smaller. But again, what we want to do is build a business that every step leads us to the next step. So now we've gone through and looked at a lot of this information. Let's talk about marketing strategies, okay? So when it comes to marketing strategies, inside of my coaching program, I have a ton of different marketing strategies. So some of the ones that I have created and developed over the years, one is going to be my Hidden Deals Blueprint. And I'm going to be making a video for you this week that kind of dives into this. But this basically shows you how to build a list of people that are hiding in plain sight. So most people build a list, they send it off to a skip tracer, they try to start cold calling that list, but most of the people that you're going to get a hold of are going to be the same people that everybody else is reaching. The people that we want to find are hiding. So people that don't have a good active phone number, people that have passed away. So I'm going to dive deeper into this strategy a little bit later this week. Another one is my off-market inbound lead system. So this is a system that I've developed that allows you to partner with people to bring leads into you, and you just pay them at closing. This is a really great, easy plug-and-play system. Arbitrage wholesaling, doing dispositions for other wholesalers is another great strategy. I've got a really slick way that I use Facebook for lead generation that's not paid advertising at all. I've got a way that I partner with realtors to bring deals in. Obviously, we have inbound marketing campaigns. So inbound marketing is going to be huge for people to kind of scale and grow their business. And then third, we have our high volume SMS and cold calling, which is not a strategy that I utilize very often. But what we look at is if you are dialing in your business, we can be far more effective on a much, much, much lower marketing budget if we're finding the right people. Now, if you're trying to do free lead generation strategies and you're just generalizing and targeting everybody, it's going to be very difficult. But when we dial the process in like we've done so far, there's a lot of marketing strategies we can utilize on a very limited budget. So a couple things with lead generation that we have to kind of keep in mind is that, again, it's very specific. The marketing strategies that we choose dictate what your success is. So let me talk about that real quickly. Choosing the right marketing strategies for you. So time that you can put in the business, budget that you could put in. These are things that make a big difference in what marketing strategies that you should choose. So you cannot do what I'm doing in my business and expect that it's going to work for you. Why? I've been doing this for over 20 years. My marketing budget is huge. I have team members that I can offload things to. So you cannot buy a course, buy a training, watch somebody on YouTube or Facebook and say, all right, I'm going to model exactly what they're doing if you don't choose the right marketing strategies for you. This is so important. And the reason why it's so important is because, again, for most people, cold calling, texting, direct mail, those are not going to be strategies that are going to work for you. Okay, you can't cold call 25, 50 people a day and expect to get results. So what we look at is when we choose marketing strategies, what we want to look at is every single marketing strategy. What we look at, they all work. If you do enough marketing, they're going to work for you. So when I work with a student and I sit down with them and say, what marketing strategies are going to work for you? What we want to look at is what is going to fit into your budget. So if you have a budget of $100 a month or you have a budget of $300 a month, there's very few marketing strategies that we can utilize that are going to work. None of the traditional marketing strategies are going to work for you. So we have to be a little more creative. Now, we can make things work with those budgets, but what we have to kind of consider is that it's very, very, very important for us to choose the right strategy. So let's say, for example, you have a lower budget, but you have more time, or you have a bigger budget and less time. Those are going to dictate the strategies that we do. So what I have created here is what I call my calculator. And this is based on what marketing strategy you choose, how much marketing you need to do, how big your budget needs to be, and then helping you put together a daily step-by-step plan to know what marketing strategies are going to work for you. So for example, this is going to be my hidden deals blueprint. So if we come in here, you can see the things that we edit are in green and then also in yellow, but this is going to spit out what we're looking for here in red. So let's say we have a revenue goal. Let's say your revenue goal is $15,000 per month and our average profit per deal is $15,000 per deal. So that tells us we need to close one deal per month. So using this strategy, if that's what our goal is, this is going to tell us that we need to make contact with 100 people per month. Okay, so that means that to do that, we're going to start out with a list of about 500 people. So we get a 20% contact rate. So of all the phone calls that we make, all the text messages, whatever we're doing, that we're going to have basically a 20% contact rate. So 100 people that we talk to should generate enough leads. So we should at least generate 10% leads. So 10 leads per month. And then with this strategy, the lead quality is going to be a lot higher. So that should equate to about one deal. So based on this marketing strategy that we know, we need to start out with about 500 records, talk to 100 people, generate 10 leads, and hopefully that's going to put one deal together. Now, the next thing we look at is something like cold calling. So for example, with cold calling, we have to start out with 4,000 records. So that means you're going to have to spend enough money to build that big of a list. You're going to have to spend enough money to skip trace that list. You're going to have to make 4,000 phone calls a day. 4,000 phone calls a month. So if we break that down, that's hundreds of phone calls each and every day. That may not necessarily be likely for you, and that's only to do one deal. So what we have inside here, again, is understanding what marketing strategies are going to be right for you. Now, I'm going to be making a video this week that's going to walk you through all the different marketing strategies and kind of what we do and how I go about using that with my students. But again, I have 7 strategies right here that I am going to recommend with you that are going to help you, even on a limited budget, get your business dialed in. So if you're new, these are going to be much better strategies to things like cold calling, small scale text message marketing. These are going to be real marketing strategies that are going to generate a great business for you. Or if you're already doing deals and you're looking to kind of dial in the consistency or lower your cost, these are going to be marketing strategies that we can incorporate. Or if you're looking to scale that business and offload a lot of that work and you want to do inbound marketing strategies, I'm going to be able to help you out with that too. So again, everything is covered here inside of the coaching portal. If you want to find out about working with me, there's going to be a button below this video. You can set up a call with me. I can walk you through all these strategies and we can actually pinpoint and map out what it looks like to kind of work with me. And then lastly, making win-win offers. So when it comes to formulating offers on properties, acquisitions is a huge part of what I teach with my students. So talking with sellers, evaluating properties, estimating repairs, setting the appointment, meeting with the homeowner, presenting your offer, formulating offers, real estate contracts, all of this is underneath my acquisition system. But when it comes to making win-win offers, what we want to kind of consider is that we need to be able to make a win-win offer. So what is a win-win offer? Well, that's an offer that a seller is willing to accept, all right? And also an offer that is, so it's high enough that a seller is willing to accept it, but low enough that we're still going to have buyers knocking down our door wanting to buy that property. So what does that look like? Well, the way that we're able to do this is when we work with better buyers that aren't going to beat us up on price, people that are paying more, we can be a little more strategic with our offer. Okay, we don't have to make a lowball offer to a seller. And what we can do is we can also then sell that property to our buyer for a good price. And the reason why we're able to sell that to our buyer at a good price is because if we go back to our spreadsheet here, we can see what those buyers are willing to pay. So if we know what they paid for that property, we know what they're going to be willing to pay for our property. That's why it's so important for us to understand that every step that we're using in this business, understanding our market, is going to lead us towards the next step. So that's what I share with you, and exactly how we do that inside of my coaching program is we make what's called win-win offers. So to make win-win offers, what we look at is I've got a very simple calculator. There's three really simple ways that we go about this. So one is going to be when I try to make offers on properties, we have what we call high comps and we have what we call low comps. Low comps are as-is properties, which is similar to what we're selling for. If we know what as-is properties are selling for, we can make a really strong offer based on that type of a property. Now, if we use high comps, that's a little bit harder. That's kind of the old school methodology where we look at a property that's sold, that was fixed up, and then we say, okay, if we know that's what it's sold for, let's estimate our repairs. Let's kind of reverse engineer the numbers. So I've got a calculator that walks you through exactly how to do that. So our low comp is what we want to utilize. So if we find low comps, that's going to be what property sold for. If we have to use high comps, then we have to come in here and find the ARV of a property. We have to then estimate the repairs on the property, and then we have to do our maximum allowable offer based on what our buyers are willing to pay and how to do that. So I've got calculators that walk you through the whole process. But when we design the business in a way to where we know what our buyers are willing to pay, we can make win-win offers. So throughout the week, I'm going to be making videos that are going to walk you through my entire process to show you how I can help you. So let's take a couple of minutes now and kind of talk about what it looks like if you want to work with me. So I set aside 5 spots starting out in 2025 that you can work with me one-on-one. So you're going to get access to my entire training platform. All right. So this not only is training modules. So you can see here all the different modules. Every single one of these modules is all broken down step by step. So that way you know exactly how to build and scale the business. But you're going to get access to all this. This is my entire business broken down. Acquisitions, dispositions, system scaling, all my marketing, all my lead gen, everything for the business. Also an entire community. Questions. You can reach out to me one-on-one for support. I have weekly support calls, but what's different about what I do is I actually want you to succeed. I want for me to be able to help you build a business. So one of the things that I do different is not only give you access to all the training, but I'm going to actually personally help you build out your entire business. So what does that look like? Picking your market, helping you identify if you're in a good market, number one. Number two, helping you identify inside of your market where we should be focusing on, helping you build your buyers list, showing you how to find the buyers and their criteria and what they're actually buying. From there, going through building out all your different motivated sellers lists, helping you find that pre-sold properties, reverse engineering that process, and then helping you develop a marketing plan based on the marketing strategies that are going to be best for you, okay? And then helping you actually launch those marketing campaigns So on day one, you're actually talking to sellers, generating leads, formulating offers, putting deals together. That's what it looks like. From there, I'm going to work with you for 6 full months, implementing this, dialing in your business, helping you implement more marketing strategies, helping you dial in that process, helping you acquire properties, helping you dispose of properties, selling those properties, creating systems, and actually scaling the business. So I know we've covered a lot in this video. Hopefully it gives you kind of a little bit of a glimpse. This whole week, I'm going to be kind of giving you more information about my structure of kind of how I'm developing a 7-figure business and continuing through the market shifts. Again, I've been doing this a while, so I wanted to give you as much insight about my mindset, what I'm doing, how I'm going to be doing things a little bit different. But if you want to work with me, there's going to be a button below this video. You can set up a call. I'm going to walk you through how we go about doing this. Or if you just have a couple questions, you want to find out a little bit, you can also drop me a message on Facebook. But either way, again, I've got 5 spots open to work with you. This is a one-on-one mentorship where I'm going to be helping you build your business. If that sounds like something you want to find out more about, drop me a message, and I look forward to helping you out here in 2025.